From Kern Government Television, Welcome to this week's Kern County Board of Supervisors meeting, originating from the County Administrative Center located at 1115 Truxton Avenue in Bakersfield, California. Grounded in ideas, energy, and innovation, Kern County's vision is to be a driving force for the world's fifth largest economy. And our mission is to exceed expectations of the communities we serve, changing the way they feel about government, those who manage it, and the services it provides. Today's Kern County Board of Supervisors meeting will convene momentarily.
Okay, thank you. Let me call to order the Tuesday, August 6, 2024, 9 a.m. regular meeting of the Board of Supervisors. The first item is roll call.
Supervisor Peters.
Here.
Supervisor Flores. Supervisor Couch.
Here.
Supervisor Perez.
Still here.
Next item is the flag salute. At the conclusion of that, please remain standing for a moment of prayer, silence, or meditation, whichever you prefer. This morning, the flag salute will be led by Justin Delarmente, who is a brand new county employee, by the way, as of last month. So welcome to the county. Justin joined the Air Force as a vehicular maintenance technician at 18 years of age and served for 6 years on active duty and 1 more in the National Guard immediately after. During his enlistment, he began his educational career by enrolling in the University of Maryland while stationed in Japan, where he earned his first associate degree. Later, enrolling in the Community College of the Air Force and then Bakersfield College, earning associates at each. Not having had enough, he enrolled into CSUB, where he earned his single subject teaching credential and a bachelor's in math. Justin was recently a teacher before joining the County of Kern and at the Kern County Veterans Services Office as a Veterans Service representative. He's happily married for 6 years and looks forward to a future helping veterans and their dependents navigating and obtaining the benefits they have earned through their service. Thank you for being with us today and leading the flag salute, and thank you for your service.
Salute. Pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Sorry? Yeah. Justin, thank you for being here and doing that for us today and taking the time. Appreciate it, and thank you for your service. The next item is everyone's favorite, the pet of the week. So we're going to ask Nick Cullen, who's our Director of Animal Services, to come out, and he's got a good one today. Good morning.
Good morning, Chairman Couch, members of the board. I brought with me Marky. Marky, he's a puppy. He's about 10 weeks old. He just came in as a stray just a couple days ago. He's going to be available for adoption from the Kern County Animal Shelter this Thursday, and we're hoping we can find him a loving home.
10 weeks old? How big is he going to get?
Not much bigger than this. He's a little terrier mix, so he'll fill out, maybe get a few more pounds added onto his frame, but he's going to be a small dog.
Very calm.
He is. Well,
okay.
Get him on the ground and he'll lose that.
So let's find Marky a forever home.
Yes.
Thank you, Nick. See you.
I see my friend Chloe in the audience. I think she needs a new dog, Wendy.
Okay, the next item is the consent agenda. All items listed with a CA or a C above the item number considered to be routine and non-controversial by county staff. We can act on those all in one motion. I'm going to tell you what's on the consent agenda. It starts on page 2, consists of items 1 and 2, and then items 5 through 8. Page 3, all the items 9 through 16. Page 4, items 17 through 19 and 21 through 23. Page 5, all the items 24 through 30. Page 6, item 31. Is there anyone here that would like to ask a question and make a comment about any of the items I just read off? Okay, seeing none, I'll return it to the board for a motion on the consent calendar.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Please cast your votes.
The motion is approved, 3 ayes, 1 absent. Supervisor Flores.
Okay, thank you. That takes us back to the public presentations portion of the meeting, which is item 3 on page 2. And this portion of the meeting is reserved for persons to address the board on any matter not on the agenda but under the jurisdiction of the board. We ask that you try to keep your comments to 2 minutes. Mr. Mayelka, welcome.
Thank you, Chairman Couch, Board of Supervisors. First of all, I'd like to thank all 3 of you and also Supervisor Flores, who's not here today, for moving forward yesterday with a special meeting to place on a short-term basis as supervisor for District 2 on the November election. And also, Supervisor Peters, I'd like to thank you for your comments yesterday. It was, I think we all agree with what you said yesterday. So this whole situation, okay, by Zach Scribner turning in his letter of resignation on August 1, has essentially left the candidates, aspiring candidates in District 2, only 4 days to come up with $1,000, get the necessary signatures, and file by Friday. A month ago, I spoke to this very board about how political consultants and big money donors control the Kern GOP. A lot of people aren't aware of that. The everyday person has little to say in our political landscape here in Kern County. For what it's worth, I want to give you my take on why Scribner may have waited until August 1 to turn in his letter of resignation. He's controlled. He could have very easily turned in his letter of resignation months ago and would have left District 2 with ample opportunities to find deserving candidates that are aspiring to run for supervisor in District 2 on the short-term basis. The consultants here in Kern County control a large percentage of our elected officials. It's a fact. It's a fact. As I had mentioned before, my name, I'm the president of the Taft Republican Assembly. We are as grassroots as it can possibly get. And that's where the voters, the citizens of Kern County need to really reevaluate who they vote for in future elections. Candidates that are controlled by big money donors, by consultants, don't answer to the needs of the constituents. They answer to the needs of their big money donors and their consultants. So this whole thing basically has evolved where,
Excuse me.
yes.
Could I ask you to bring your comments to a close?
Yes, absolutely,
Okay, thank you.
absolutely. This whole thing was done deliberately, in my opinion, that because it narrowed the pool and it gave the Kern GOP a designated person that they probably already have in mind to run for District 2 supervisor. So I appreciate your time. I thank you for your efforts yesterday, and I'm excited to see where this all takes us over the next few months. Thank you.
Thank you. Who'll be next?
Counting myself, will have 6 presentations. My name is Glenn Clayton, C-L-A-Y-T-O-N. Good morning, Board, Chairman Couch. For the past 2 years, concerned citizens have brought public presentations to the Board of Supervisors in our election systems. We reported our concerns, such as Dominion voting vulnerabilities and voter roll ineligible registrations. We've sought your assistance in remedy and information, and some of the issues have been well addressed. Some questions remain, such as our concern over illegal citizens voting in the upcoming general election. However, we are pleased with the progress that has been made to form a committee seeking clarity, best practices, oversight, and recommendations. We want to thank you for moving forward and organizing Elections Committee. Thank you for being proactive in bringing about voter trust to the goal of our free and fair elections. Thank you for responding to our concerns, evidence, and reports. Thank you especially for the conference meetings with board members Couch, Peters, and Perez. Thank you very much. These meetings have been helpful, collaborative, and productive. And I believe that these goodwill steps towards making sure our county government elections are accurate, true to the best of our ability. And we look forward to joint efforts, including Ms. Espinoza, to seek out and remove vulnerability, gaps, and efficiencies in any areas in need of improvements. And we must safeguard against the disenfranchisement of the voters and the fidelity to equal treatment of ballots in Kern County. So how about let's become an example to all the counties in California that inspire and encourage everyone to cast a vote with confidence in future elections. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Clayton.
Good morning, board members. Good morning, Mr. Chairman.
Morning.
I am Charles Shin. I'm a retired Marine, SHINN. I'm also a concerned citizen. Today, we would like to bring to your attention an update on the removal of inactive voters from our voter rolls. On July 30th, Amy Espinoza shared with the Board of Supervisors and the public that her office had removed 77,100 inactive voters from their voter rolls. We were all very pleased with our elections office for their remediation over this largely neglected duty. Judicial Watch had previously identified 66,000 inactive voters needing removal when their lawsuit was filed against the Secretary of State and 16 other counties that include Kern County on May 6th of 2024. We went into the elections office on August 2nd, just a few short days ago, to request a verification on these removals. This is when we were informed that a, quote, wrong date, unquote, had been entered when sending the data from the EIMS, Election Integrity Management System, developed by DFM Associates. Did software reject our elections office removals without notice to our elections office or to the public? That's a question. We have been told to expect far, far less removals than originally reported. We were told that a voter had made an inquiry to the Secretary of State and our election office was notified, and this is how our elections office even became aware of the system's rejection of our county officials' efforts to remove 77,100 inactive voters. The elections office stated they resubmitted and did so well inside tomorrow's cutoff date, 90 days prior to the general election. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shin. Can I pause right there for a second? Does staff have any comment on that? Is Ms. Espinoza here today? I can't see into the audience. A lot of people there.
I don't think she is available this morning, but we'd be happy to, relate the information if she's not watching the meeting and come back to your board.
Thank you. Morning.
Good morning. I'd like to thank you all for your move yesterday, and I'm sorry that the board gets put between the public and the powers that be that control and manipulate our timeline so that you have to make a rush decision. My name's Jess Sanders. I'm going to continue on with what he's had reading. We would like to know if the inactive voter rolls were successfully removed, if the removal of at least 66,000 Judicial Watch identified only 3 months ago, and if the elections office was verified the removal is complete before tomorrow. That's the deadline. It is clear that all of us can make a human error, and it's certainly alarming that software decisions making overrides our local control of our data. But we urgently ask that all efforts are made to ensure the cleanup of our inactive voter rolls to be completed within this next 24 hours that we have left to ensure the voters' trust in our November 5th, 2024 election. We also request the inactive voter rolls data, since any of the voters can be manipulated within a moment's to engage. A moment's notice of engagement can be altered back and forth. The voter rolls used to include a status combined with a pull-down tab in the name box to verify status of previous years. This current voter rolls omits this inactive voter data. And as ask for the return of this to the voter roll data collection for transparency to the public. Again, I'm kind of want to back up Vince's claims that a lot of the timelines that you guys are pressed with are intentionally tight and manipulated to bid you against the public, and I'm sorry for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sanders.
Ron Barger. Good morning, Board. During the 9 a.m. Tuesday, June 25th, 2024 Board meeting, Amy Espinoza informed the following. We had certain tabulators that were prepared to count the ballots for the March 5th election. Then we had to prepare separate tabulators to count the ballots for the March 19th election. Supervisor Couch asked, is that because the tabulators you prepared for March 5th are still counting ballots during the time of the March 19th election? Correct. And by the 5th, we were already starting to receive ballots for the March 19th election. So we have to count those separately, responded Mrs. Espinoza. We have given you evidence contrary to Ms. Espinoza's testimony on June 25th. Evidence was provided to you via Ms. Krause, which documents that on March 8th, an election worker did in fact upload March 5th ballots into the very same tabulators that the thumb drive was inserted into the day before, and which solely Ms. Espinoza was supposed to be solely dedicated to tabulating the ballots applicable to the March 19th election. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Barger.
Good morning, Mr. Couch.
Morning.
Chairman, board members. Please review again the video we provided your board earlier.
Mr. McLean.
MC capital L-E-A-N. Thank you.
Thank you.
We have become aware in other states memory stick devices are a source of malware. These cases increase our own concern over this issue. The origin and use of the memory stick used in Kern County tabulator laptops needs further explanation. Who provided the memory stick? Have the memory sticks been scanned for additional programming prior to use? Can the memory stick be examined for an added SD card? Has there been a reconciliation of a physical count of ballots prior to the memory stick use with the upload count? Okay. Is the memory stick used kept secured for the same period as the ballots? Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. McLean. Morning.
Good morning. Glad to be here. My name is Pamela Reese, R-E-E-C-E. Thank you for hearing me today. I'm here to acknowledge good governance, which is before me here in our supervisors. Couldn't be more proud to be heard by you, and am totally elated about your enthusiasm towards better elections.
Can you come back every week?
We're so happy with you. I mean, it's history. I can see the headlines now. We have big things to look forward to. Don't you? I could see it and hear it in you at our last meeting. So keep up the good work. So many months ago, some concerned registered voters from Kern County addressed their supervisors regarding election issues, and you listened. This board's enthusiasm and genuine confidence that relief is attainable through collaboration, and we the people are included in this. I'm proud to say Kern County Board of Supervisors are one of a kind. Thank you for being you. Elections in the United States is an issue of common concern. Here in Kern County, elections has become its own machine. It requires regular maintenance and needs to be well-oiled by select vetted individuals who are patriotic, take elections seriously, and follow the letter of the California Elections Code. And they know the entire electoral process in California inside and out, and are experts in their role as a Kern County elections official. Today, we have an opportunity to have a profound effect, not just upon the voters of Kern County and California, but on the several individual states of our nation and their counties too. California is one of the most populous states in the nation, and we are now at the point, and I'm sure most of you will agree, it's time to play the appropriate role as one of the most robust counties in California, and we deserve an independent and separate elections division that is proportionate to the economic and population size of Kern County. Simply put, the administration of public elections, the maintaining of voter rolls, and everything election-related should be separate from the grouped offices of Auditor, Controller, County Clerk, and there is a valid need for the expanse of the Kern County Elections Department. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Morning.
Good morning. Janine Adams, resident of District 2. I wanted to share some thoughts and concerns regarding the recent resignation of Supervisor Scrivener. These events have brought to light troubling patterns of political manipulation that undermine the democratic process and prioritize political interests over the fair representation of our community. Scrivener's resignation, timed exactly 97 days before the November 5th election, raises significant concerns about the integrity of the elections process. The timing leaves only a narrow 10-day window for potential candidates, that includes the extended period, okay, for potential candidates to gather signatures and qualify for the ballot, effectively limiting the ability of voters to have a genuine choice in their representation. This manipulating undermines our democratic values and raises questions about whether the interests of political insiders are being placed above those of their constituents. As we move forward, I urge this board to take meaningful steps towards rebuilding trust with our community. The residents of Kern County deserve leaders who act honestly and with integrity, putting the needs of their constituents above all else. It's time for a new era of leadership that prioritizes transparency and accountability, ensuring a brighter future for all. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Adams. Is that you, Amy? Okay, good. Thank you for coming down.
Of course. Good morning, Chairman, members of the board, Kern County Auditor, Controller, County Clerk.
Sorry, can you hang on? I'm sorry to interrupt you. No. Because we're under public statements. Okay.
It won't
I'm
take
sorry.
longer than 2 minutes.
I didn't think so. Thank you.
Amy Espinoza, Kern County Auditor, Controller, County Clerk, Registrar of Voters. I wanted to comment on the cancellations of the inactive voters, and we did cancel approximately 77,100. We were notified by the state that there were people calling who had voted in March 5th, the March 5th election. And so we worked with the Secretary of State and our vendor. The error was human error. It was a keying date, as Mr. Shin mentioned, but we worked very quickly to reinstate all of those voters and then identify and segregate those that were truly ready to be canceled. Again, we are dedicated to making sure that only people who should have been canceled were actually canceled. I did misspeak last week. We thought that it was a correct file, but we have remedied the situation already. And yesterday, with the, again, approval of the state, we approved 34,617 voters that had not voted in any election since the November 3rd, 2020 election. And those were the only ones who were eligible to be canceled.
With the amount of interest there is, can you give us that number again?
34,617. So we did
That's the number
meet
that has been removed from the
that have been
voter rolls.
canceled,
Okay.
correct. And then we ran another report, and there was approximately 37,000 that if they don't vote in this November election, will be reviewed again to see if we can cancel those after the November 2024 election.
And if they don't vote in the November 5th election, what's the process? Do you have to send them a letter, a couple of notifications?
We have to send one more notification, letting them know that they will be canceled, and if we don't receive any forwarding address or a change of address or any other communication from them, then we can cancel them. Which even if a voter is canceled, they can still register, re-register. We have conditional voter registration here in California, so the day of or on election day, people can register. And so as far as disenfranchising voters, it might be a little more cumbersome at a polling site, but luckily we're not disenfranchising voters here in California. The other thing I wanted to mention is for the District 2, adding District 2 to the November ballot, we are having extended hours today, tomorrow, and Thursday. We're open until 6 to help accommodate, people who might not be able to get off of work on time, realizing that we are on a very, very short time frame. And so we did send out a press release yesterday, so I wanted to announce that to the public today.
All right, thank you.
Chairman, I have a
Yes,
question. Thank you,
Supervisor
Chair.
Perez.
So is the 37 and the 34 number, what was the original sort of 71,000? Is that half of that almost, or more, a little more than half being potential removers based on the next election? They got included in that larger number?
Correct.
Okay,
Correct.
okay. And so based on November, we'll get another update on the 37,000. Some of them are going to vote, but, many will not in all likelihood.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you for that. Thank you so much for coming down, Amy.
Yeah,
I appreciate it very
thank
much.
you. Any other public speakers this morning under public presentations? Okay, seeing none, we're going to go to board member announcements and reports. Anything, Supervisor Perez?
Chair, thank you. We have been discussing informally this group that we've been meeting with and having very productive conversations, very collaborative, and I feel very, very good about it. But we have not made a referral to staff, and, I think you and I should be partners in that process very aggressively. And, of course, Peter's so fantastic, but we need two to avoid a quorum. Can you give some remarks about how you think we should proceed?
Well, here's my thoughts, and I kind of expressed them in our last meeting when this was mentioned. We have already 5 standing committees, and I wanted to explain this. I wanted to meet with Mr. Shin and whoever he wanted to have there to explain this. We already have those established. We could also establish an ad hoc committee, I suppose, just to work on that issue, but let's assume we just use the standing committees. We don't have to do anything special.
Right.
We just refer it to the appropriate committee, and those are open. Brown Act requirements apply to them, so they would be in public. There would only be 2 members of the committee, 2 supervisors, but any of the staff that are appropriate to attend or that want to attend would certainly be able to, and any public member that wants to attend would certainly be able to, and they could submit their comments, suggestions, what have you. Ultimately, it would come down to 2 members of the Board of Supervisors making a recommendation, or maybe a couple of recommendations to the board, that the board would then have to make a recommendation from there to Ms. Espinoza. And ultimately it's her decision because it's her department and she's elected. But that's the process that I kind of envision. If we don't establish a whole nother committee, which would take an action on our part, and it would subject everybody on that committee to those forms that we all have to fill out. And I'm not sure that everybody wants to fill those forms out.
It's a lot of bureaucracy,
Yeah.
Chair, and to your point, and you had created this and launched it, and I've always thought it was brilliant, but we just haven't had a lot of opportunity to explore it. We did some on the
I think
pedestrian.
we've used it 1 or 2 times.
I think
That's
for
about
pedestrian
it.
safety, which was really effective, and we're fleshing out, right, what our
Right.
problems are, shining light, and collaborating. I mean, I don't have the answers necessarily, but it feels like that would give us such a good handle and help the public understand where the problems are and frankly, how we need to all work towards solving them. So, but, you're more of the brain trust on that, so I want to follow your lead, Chair.
You guys are in big trouble from the brain trust. Okay. Anyway, those are my thoughts in response to your question. Any others?
So you have a time scheduled with Mr. Shen?
No, but I asked him if he would go up to my office when they were done here and get on the calendar
Okay, so, I would.
and coordinate
Again,
with your office.
Thank you,
you go.
Chair. I would ask for your patience.
government is painfully slow. I know how frustrating that is. It's frustrating for me too. But this feels to me like a meaningful and substantive progress, and it is going to take us some time. And I just ask for your patience and grace because I think we're all in here, and we got to figure out what that mechanism look like. But I will look forward to Chairman's meeting with you, Mr. Shen, and figuring out next steps. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Speaking of meaningful and substantive progress, our fire chief is here, I believe. Or he was. Yes. Could you give us a quick update on the Burrell fire? I know you had some pretty good news.
Good morning, Chairman. Good morning, esteemed board members. My name is Aaron Duncan, Fire Chief, Kern County Fire. I do bring good news today. I came here to tell you today that the Burrell fire is currently sitting at 75% containment. That is a big jump from yesterday. Yesterday, boots on the ground were able to get line all around the fire. They have not put black on the map everywhere just yet because we want to make sure that that line is tested and it holds, but they're feeling very good with it. Fire's still sitting just over 59,000 acres, and we still have 1,500 firefighters on the fire. What you're going to see in the coming days is we're going to beginning to have meetings about repopulation and trying to get people back to the recovery process. So I just want to remind everyone that we do have a call center that is open, and it's open, all day, 661-873-2660. And beginning this Saturday up in Lake Isabella at the Senior Center, we will have the Local Assistance Center open, and it'll be open from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m., trying to help all residents and people affected by the Burrell fire get back on their feet and assist in any way possible. This concludes my comments.
Chief, thank you. Pass along our thanks to your guys.
Will do. Thank you.
And my thanks go to Supervisor Peters as well. I know you spent a lot of time up there and didn't get much sleep for a while. Okay, seeing no more board member announcements and reports. That takes us over to item 20 on the agenda. And it is under the County Administrative Office. It's on page 4. It's a proposed selection of Allied Universal, Inc. as the successful vendor in response to a request for proposals, otherwise known as RFP, for private security guard services and a consideration of a protest by Transwest Security Services, Inc. Ms. Martinez, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. Our previous CAO, James Service, we're going to wait. Here we go. So as I mentioned, our previous CEO, James Service, notified your board on January 2nd via email that a request for proposal or RFP for security services would be issued January 8, 2024. The RFP was to be managed by the County Administrative Office and not General Services. He also indicated that the review committee would be made up of qualified individuals from county departments that utilize the services the most, and once completed, the committee's final recommendation will be brought forth to your board for consideration for one or more contract vendors. So here we are today. So currently, the county secures this type of services through a non-exclusive price agreement with multiple companies, but primarily with Transwest through a price agreement with a value of approximately $7 million annually. The County Administrative Office issued an RFP for security services January 8, 2024, which is one of the multiple methods depending on the services and value used to secure services through an open, transparent, and competitive procurement process. Vendors had the RFP for 30 days to review and compile their questions and/or comments. After the 30 days, the County Administrative Office had a pre-proposal meeting with all interested vendors to give them the opportunity to ask questions that were subsequently answered through an addendum to the RFP and distributed to all vendors. The proposals were due March 8, and since that time, the County Administrative Office staff have been working with the Evaluation Committee to present to your board their recommendation. As noted in the RFP document that was sent to all vendors, the recommendation by the Evaluation Committee and the final selection of a proposer by your board should be based on information and criteria that the Evaluation Committee and your board considers relevant, which may include criteria not listed in the RFP, and the lowest cost is not the sole criteria for recommendation to award the contract. Your board item today indicates the protest of the current provider, Transwest, to the recommendation of the proposed selection of Allied Universal as the successful vendor in response to the request for proposal. The County Administrative Office received a letter on July 23rd from Transwest as an additional information to a protest letter and a binder with information that was also provided to your board. As you may have read in the document provided by Transwest, there were several points that I would like to clarify. There seems to be confusion by Transwest regarding the multiple processes the county uses for procurement. Listed in this PowerPoint are two of those processes: RFP under policy, Kern County Policies and Procedure Manual 511, and best value bid under Section 527. Those are two complete different processes. Both use the best value criteria. In the RFP, there's an evaluation committee. And the bid, there's no evaluation committee. That is conducted by the purchasing division, and the award is not made by your board, but it's made by the purchasing division. The RFP is conducted by a certified facilitator. That is staff that has been trained to conduct RFPs. County policy requires that to ensure an open, transparent process. And the final award is not made by the department or the purchasing agent. It is made by your board on the recommendation of the evaluation committee. So as indicated in the county issue an RFP, all vendors clearly responded to an RFP acknowledged by their signature in the certification provided with their proposals. Prior to the notification of award or not award, no clarifying questions or concerns were asked of the County Administrative Office staff regarding the issuance of an RFP under Policy 511. Transwest have also indicated that their protest is based on Policy Section 539, which is the protest procedures for bids and quotations, not RFPs. Again, this is not applicable. There was also a statement by Transwest that security services are not professional services, and therefore an RFP was not the appropriate procurement process. And I would say there's nothing more professional than the security of our staff and our residents. In fact, your board recently made the decision to transition the park rangers and building security services from general services to the sheriff's office to ensure that services are enhanced, and this includes the services provided by subcontractors. Furthermore, our policy states that professional services are defined as technical or unique functions performed by independent contractors or consultants who specialize in the services required. While not limited to individuals holding professional licenses, the services are considered professional, and the contract may run through partnerships, firms, or corporations, as well as individuals. An RFP may also be used for any service needed by the department that would benefit from the use of an evaluation criteria. The vendor does not have the authority to make the determination of what constitutes professional services and when best value bid process versus RFP process is appropriate. Your board has broad discretion in procurement of any specialized service under government code. So why do we do this process? First, it is the county policy. Second, the availability of providers change over time, and the current agreement has been in place since 2009. The competitive process allows the county to compare different services providers and choose one that offers the highest quality. It also ensures that we are getting competitive pricing and the best value for the money. It reduces the risk of becoming too complacent with the level of service and allows for potential innovation, which can lead to better services. And finally, it can help the county negotiate better terms and conditions with the service provider. So a week ago, I presented your board the changes to the preliminary budget. And if you recall during that presentation, I mentioned that a significant source of the $3.9 billion county budget are state and federal programs. In fact, over 50% comes directly to from the state and federal government. Well, that money comes with a lot of strings attached. The county must follow Code of Federal Regulation Part 200 when procuring goods or services with federal funding, and they must be conducted in a manner providing for full and open competition consistent with the standards. Furthermore, your board must document the rationale for procurement, contract selection, rejection, and basis of contract price. And as I indicated at the beginning, your board does have the discretion to base your decision on any information and criteria your board considers relevant. But I would advise you to use your existing policy and ordinance consistently and to not make verbal changes, but rather only use relevant information to make your decision. Why do I mention this? Because over 60% of the $7 million annually paid for security services is covered by subvented departments, meaning departments that get most, if not all, their funding from federal and state programs. And we do not want to jeopardize federal and state reimbursement for security services. I also want to highlight that those departments in the PowerPoint presentation that are bolded, in addition to using security services to a contract, they have requested and have park rangers or security attendant staff in order to increase the level and quality of security services. While the RFP process provides the selection committee and your board the discretion on the process, there is not specific requirements. Our staff follow the process to ensure an open and transparent process. There is no requirement for the number of evaluators, and there's no requirement to create a short list for further consideration, although we did. As we noted in the staff report, we received 12 proposals, and the county had 4 debriefs with 4 different companies. Today, TransWest is asking your board to deny staff recommendation for the selection of Ally and instead select TransWest based on the assertion that they are the low bidder and truly local vendor, that they have performed the services for 35 years, and they have consistently provided coverage to all posts, including the far reaches of eastern Kern County. Let me first clarify the assertion of truly local vendor. The RFP local vendor preference was applied following the county policy and ordinance. Again, redefining local policy could put our federal and funding for this type of service in jeopardy. 6 of 12 vendors received local vendor preference. All top 3 that were advanced to the interview received local vendor preference in various degrees in according to the policy. TransWest asserts that the local vendor preference should be applied as points and not as a percentage, which according to our policy for the RFP should be applied as a percentage. However, even if applied the way TransWest described, it would have not changed the ranking. They would still have been selected for an interview. There was some confusion about how the interview final score came about. Each vendor selected for an interview was given the opportunity to answer same questions during the interview process under 4 categories. They also had the opportunity to highlight the quality of services. Each of the 3 evaluators, one of them was absent, there were 4 evaluators total due to an illness, was able to score each vendor with a possible score of 40 points each and a total of 120 points per vendor. After the interviews were finalized, the evaluation committee as a whole, based on initial proposals and the interviews, finalized a decision to recommend Ally as a successful vendor. Transwest also asserts that they are the low bidder, and as I previously stated, this is not a bid process. Furthermore, low cost is not the only deciding factor. The RFP and the subsequent answers provided via the addendum were clear that the county was looking for a fixed price for 4 levels of services as detailed in the RFP, with no escalators for 2 years. Transwest submitted the hourly rates, including that they pay employees, and 2 contradictory statements that I have posted here. So one of the statements states, ensuring cost stability, our pricing sheet is designed to hold firm upon full contract award, underscoring the importance of consolidation, the scope without separating multiple companies for the optimal delivery of security services to the county of Kern. Again, the county RFP states that 1 or more companies could be selected. The second statement states the proposed pricing provides long-term options and has room for security officers to receive increases based on California labor changes, length of service, and performance on the account. This is determined collectively with the County of Kern departments and general services. The county should not participate in determining the salaries that Transwest pays to the employees. Transwest is an independent contractor, not an agent of the county, and county rates should be fixed. As a matter of fact, Transwest, under the current agreement, in the last 18 months, had asked for increases that have come to your board. Amendment 10 on February 28 increased the price for minimum wage retroactive to December 2022. On February 6, 2024, Amendment 11 was also approved by your board and brought forward by our Department of General Services to increase the minimum wage and overtime. And finally, on June 25, 2024, we extended the agreement under Amendment 12, and the rates in the exhibit were, there's a quote in the agreement which, if I brought that contract to your board, I would have never put it, but we did. So I take responsibility for that. But it says, the rates in the exhibit are subject to increases commensurate with any state mandate increases to minimum wage and under Labor Code 1182, those are the employees for healthcare facilities. Vendor to advise county immediately upon required increases under this labor. In essence, the county is bearing the cost of any wage increases due to labor or healthcare or any state law. So those were contradictory statements, and Transwest facilitators followed the RFP requirement that the cost would remain firm as required and proposed by other vendors. And finally, the last assertion is about providing services throughout Kern County. I will not disagree that Transwest has been a very good partner when it comes servicing our vast county. However, the evaluation committee determined that Ally could provide similar service and also provided a comprehensive plan to address turnover, while Transwest assumed past experience performance will reflect future performance. Ally also agreed to offer employment to the individual currently providing services. And our goal is always to not displace county residents providing services for our county. So as I mentioned, the price proposal had contradictory language. In the past, Transwest has requested multiple increases reflected in 12 amendments. And while they have been a good partner, their proposal did not reflect the future plan, but rely on prior years of service. Evaluators came from departments most familiar with services, including the Sheriff's Office, now in charge of security over all our buildings. They identified the following factors leading to Transwest not being recommended to your board. So they look at increased turnover and lower staffing flexibility, the lack of coverage and longer lead time for rural locations, and basic technology feature for post-notification and training, county experience limited to Kern, and did not address interview question demonstrating experience. All those factors came during the interview process. And while Transway indicated in the binder that your board received July 23rd that the process was flawed, the RFP contains strong language reserving the right of the county to modify the procedural elements of the RFP in its sole discretion. There is no expectation that a party has a right to some specific process. Your highly qualified department staff, including the sheriff's office in charge of security on all our county parks and buildings, completely reviewed all proposals and in the almost 4 months that took to evaluate this process. As part of the evaluation process, there is discussion among evaluation committee to ensure that all scores are justified and that information is not missed or not considered by one of the evaluators members. Trans was stating that arbitrary changes were part of the process. And I want to make sure that it's clear that that's not the case. The process involved discussing among members, and they might change their score until a final score is decided and provided to the department head or your board. All vendors were asked the same interview questions under the same categories, although not required. Transwest also states that the evaluation committee did not investigate other vendors and that the county had terminated an agreement with Servetso. As previously stated, the county has multiple agreements, including Servetso. County departments have the autonomy to choose vendors depending on needs. They may select one vendor one fiscal year and decide to go with a different vendor the following fiscal year. This is not a termination of existing services or price agreement with the vendor. Again, as I indicated, this is a non-exclusive price agreement, and it is also our current practice that we do. Vendors, departments have the ability to choose vendors. And while the selection committee is aware of the articles related to Allied, that was not one of the final deciding factors. The deciding factors are listed on your staff report, but it also includes firm costs for 2 years, the extensive security professional training and customer service, detailed local oversight through in-person and technological methods, experience in addressing emergent situations, including natural disaster response, wide-ranging experience among industries, other counties, and local businesses, and the ability to staff all areas of Kern, including rural areas. I want to thank Amanda Ruiz and Jason Weeby from my office for completing this process in a very, very professional manner. We understand that representatives from Transwest have a presentation for you and that would like to provide it. And also Allied representatives are here and would like to address this board. At this time, it will be appropriate for your board to hear the presentation of both vendors before opening for public comment. The staff recommendation still is selection of Allied, but if your board wishes to have other options, I will be happy to provide those for you.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the board before we open it up? I have one. Does it matter who goes first?
Your board
what's your
has full
preference?
discretion. I would suggest that you hear Transwest first.
Okay. Okay. Is it I have probably a dumb question. Are we hearing this protest? Is it a public hearing or is it just public comments on the item? Technically it's not a public hearing. It's simply comments on the item.
If
6 of one, half a dozen of another. What am I?
Chairman Couch, it's actually neither. It's a protest.
Protest. Okay. Welcome.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, my name is Dustin Dodgen, and I, along with my colleague, Attorney Haley Lawson, represent Transwest Security Services, Inc. In the audience today, I have Vice President Brad Antonioni and CEO and President Brooke Antonioni. Transwest is your incumbent vendor. Transwest is the epitome, and may I, thank you very much, Madam Clerk. Sure, no problem. in the interest of your board's time while the slides are loading, I just want to remark that Transwest is the epitome of a reliable vendor. At a time when employees were difficult to get to the office, it was very difficult during COVID to do that, Transwest was staffing posts throughout your county, direct interaction with the public at healthcare facilities, and ultimately your mass vaccination clinic. Now, when you have that level of reliability and commitment, you are fortunate when that same vendor comes to you and said, I agree to continue the contract. And you're beyond lucky when once we finished the math on it, we realized that we're actually the low bidder by not nearly $2 million, by $2.5 million. Moreover, Transwest is the only truly local vendor in the top 3. Let's talk about what that means to be a truly local vendor. Over 94% of Transwest employees call Kern County home. I'm showing you an incomplete list of local businesses. This is where Transwest spends its money. That means your county dollars come right back to our community. Patrol vehicles, transport vehicles, those are bought at local dealerships. That's sales tax right in your backyard. When we talk about everything from supplies, my office brought these Stinson's Bankers boxes today. That's what Transwest is using. Everything local. Moreover, when we talk about banking and insurance, when we're talking about multinational companies, they are not banking and getting their insurance services locally, just like Transwest. There is a long list of local charities and nonprofits, all supported by your truly local vendor, Transwest. I want to talk to you today about process. There are some significant process errors. I'm not going to go through all of them. And Mr. Chairman, just because I know when I'm in the audience, I get a little fidgety. I want to know how long it's going to be. Approximately about 20 minutes. It would take all day for me to go through the 350-page binder that is in front of you, which comprised our protest.
If you're asking me if I'm going to cut you off at any point, I don't think I'm going to cut either of you off. You'll have plenty of time, as will Allied.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And that was really so we all can pace ourselves for a longer speech, if you will. But what we have in front of you is...
Okay, take that back.
Yeah. I'll take it. I'll take the 20. And Mr. Chairman, I know that you've got 2 binders in front of you, and you've got some documents. This is nothing new, with the exception of one page, because I charted out for you what your evaluation committee didn't, which is how much these services are going to cost the county. So you've got a 300 and change page binder. I submitted that 2 weeks ago. That's a protest. And the reason why it's so long is because every time I made a factual statement, I provided a citation and a footnote to tell you where exactly I found that. In transcripts from the interviews, in documents, in the packets that were received from the county, in the RFP, in our proposal, everything is backed up by evidence, and that's why it's so significant. There's a second binder. That's just Allied's bid and Cervexo's bid. I want to make sure you have it. There's a very small folder that's got my slides from today, and it's got a few other documents. It has a separate letter from me that identifies some concerns I had with process and whether or not we should be on the agenda today. And you're going to note some other items in there. And again, the key one is how much Transwest is saving you. And when I talk about process, top 3 candidates within 6% of one another in scoring. That means small errors made a big difference, and I'm going to talk to you about significant errors. The biggest one is when you are purchasing, whether it's you on your own or you for your family, certainly not for an $8 million a year contract for the county. At a minimum, you're going to do what? You're going to figure out how much it costs, and is it any good? The evaluation committee did not know how much it was going to cost. They knew everyone's rates. They knew the overtime rate, the regular time rate. They knew the different levels. They knew the mileage costs, but they didn't know the units, how many are in each category, to flow those out to figure out how much this is going to cost the county. That's a significant shortcoming. Now, fortunately, your board already knows that we are the low bidder. There's no dispute from staff. That's an error that can be fixed today by selecting the low bidder. Importantly, what we're telling you, which is not known to the committee, we're going to save the county over $2.5 million. And that's in the chart that I've submitted in front of you. You're going to hear a little bit about process. Why didn't Transwest just get awarded first place in the first place? 6% difference between the top 3. Let me explain to you what cost Transwest nearly 10% They got docked 10% in these three categories. Project experience. There is no vendor more experienced at these specific posts than Transwest. We are there right now. There is no other vendor that is more experienced at those posts. Project understanding. There is a 47-page scope of work attached to the RFP. In 2022, General Services sent that to Transwest Director of Operations. The Director of Operations substantially corrected it and redrafted it to reflect the coverage in the field. Number of hours at each post, number of guards at each post, level of guard, types of work. We understand the project because we wrote it. The scope of work is a document that was essentially drafted by Transwest and attached to the RFP that was submitted to the vendors. Project understanding, there is no better vendor with project understanding like Transwest. Transition points. I'm going to go through this in a little more detail. The short version is there is one category that's really focused on transition. Transwest was docked over 6 percentage points in that category. An incumbent has no transition. An incumbent is there. So when our guard is there out front right now, they're going to stay out front. That's how our transition works. It's seamless. It is your best transition option of any vendor. I'm going to explain to you why it actually infiltrates 45% of the categories. I do think it's important to note something about the other vendors. Cervexo was fired by the county. I'll go into detail of that. We do not believe the evaluation committee knew that because Cervexo didn't disclose it as required by the terms of the RFP. That was your top point winner, Cervexo, the fired vendor. Allied, the multinational company, it appears that no evaluation was done as to what appears to be their reputation in the industry for lack of training and inability to staff new contracts. Moreover, it doesn't appear that they looked at their transition plan close enough to understand what that would do to our community. And finally, they missed the hidden costs. We'll talk about that. I don't need you to dive into the scoring, but I don't mean to pile on, but that may be what I'm doing today. This is what it looks like when you do the correct weights. These aren't the correct scores, but these are the correct weights. 90 points possible, and what was happening was the county wasn't saying, well, it's a 90-point possible scoring total, so we'll do 10% and get 9 points. We'll do 20% and it'll be 18 points. That's what the weighting should look like. It didn't look like that. The available points in each category range from 10.5 points to 12.5 points. They smashed it to where nothing truly had a different weight. And importantly, pricing was watered down. It actually was underweighted in the process. So when we look at the scores that I'm showing you on the left, those are the misweighted points. I've crossed those out, and I've put the correctly weighted points with one further correction. I changed 3 categories. I gave Transwest top points for project understanding, top points for project experience, top points for transition plan. Pretty obvious. We don't have to do anything further. Transwest is clearly out in front. The closest one is the fired vendor Cervexo, who didn't disclose their termination and ultimately Allied. I want to talk to you about something else. Local vendor preference has always been important to your board. And it's important to this community. What's happening is everybody's a local vendor. Allied, a multinational company, received an extra 5% for being a local vendor. If you take that out, this is what it looks like. Again, with the corrections that we discussed in the last slide. Cervexo, based out of Gardenia, we learned through the notes we were provided by the county that they use subcontractors. So I don't know where their subcontracted employees live. But what we learned in 2019, when I was in front of your board at that time, was that Cervexo has a virtual office on California Avenue at the Regus building. What Supervisor Maggard asked was, what are we talking here? What kind of size of office? And my best recollection was it was about 60 square feet. So Cervexo, the 60 square foot fired vendor for the county, got 5% for being a quote-unquote local vendor. They got an additional 2% for claiming that more than half of their employees are right here in Kern County. I don't know that that logically makes sense. especially if they're using subcontractors and how that was used. But I want to make sure your board appreciates the impact of it. Again, it doesn't matter. Transwest should have been number one regardless, but this is what's happening with your local vendor ordinance. It's not truly favoring companies that are spending local with economic multipliers. I'm going to skip over the interview process. I think we're going to talk about it as I address some of the county's points. Let's talk about best value bid. Why is it important that I'm bringing to your attention that my position is this was a best value bid and not an RFP? In a best value bid, if an employer has more than 50% of their employees here in Kern County, they move up one position. So even if we mess up the points and Transwest isn't in first position, they'd be bumped up to first position. Because again, Servexo should be disqualified. So Transwest once again becomes number one. That's why best value bid is important. RFPs are for professional services. I don't think it's correct to say that RFPs are the only way it gets back to your board, because in your own manual, Section 527, which deals with best value bid, says, look at Section 508 for the rest of the process, which describes both goods and services. Paragraph 3 reflects the process. When it's over $200,000, it comes right back to your board. This is a best value bid. If we're trying to characterize security services as professional services, which are typically reserved for attorneys, accountants, et cetera, if we're trying to do that, what we're doing is we're evading the benefit to a local vendor of receiving the one ranking position boost under the local employee ratio enhancement. So it's just again, watering down benefits for local vendors if we're trying to slide this out of RFP and into best value. I want to talk about transition points. You don't need to see all the different tiny font here. What I want you to see is visually, the questions I'm going to show you in the next slide are highlighted. These are transition questions. It's not just one category. It infiltrates the entire evaluation process. 45% of the categories have transition questions in them. Now, one might say, well, but the evaluators weren't giving a total of 45% weighting to things like transition plans. Well, let's look at their comments. There's a score justification summary. It's only one box. It tells us how they got to their score. Transwest was heavily docked by evaluator 2. It says, and it gets this right, easy transition plan because they are already here, heavily docked points. With respect to Servexo, clear timeframes and plans, full and detailed timeline with critical events. Clear they were moved by someone that actually had a transition plan because they weren't the current vendor. Evaluator 1 penalizes Transwest, no timeline, no requirements. Servexo, higher points, clear timeframes. We were also docked by Evaluator 1 in a different category. Says no plan given. Again, that's because you have transition questions throughout, not just in the one section that deals with completion date. I think this might be an opportunity to, and I'll just leave that slide there for a moment, but this is an opportunity to respond to some of the comments from the county in the staff report. This was the ding on Transwest. Transwest leadership did not provide a comprehensive plan to address turnover in their proposal or in the interview. Let me explain what really happened. There were 4 evaluators. As far as we can tell, none of them have purchasing experience. And they may come from departments that use security services, but we know who in the departments manages the security services. Only one of the 4 evaluators does so. When it came to the interview, only 3 of the evaluators showed up. These 3 evaluators didn't understand what Transwest was telling them. What Transwest was telling them is, at a minimum wage position, in an industry known for turnover, we will not fix the industry problem. We will not fix the industry problem. What we do is we have every possible solution to ensure, as we've done under our current contract, that we will have all staffs, all posts staffed, all posts covered, all transports, and all patrols handled. And we certainly took extra time to explain that because we think it's important. We don't think other vendors appreciate how difficult it is here in Kern County to make sure that you understand about rock slides, weather, getting out to the far reaches of Eastern Kern and being knowledgeable about the nuances of this county. So we explain that we have ride assist. Ride assist means if your car breaks down, you're not off work for the day. We pick you up. We now pay 2 people for 1 post, unbilled to the county. We cross-train people. That means we don't have one guard that we hope he shows up on a particular day or she shows up on a particular day. We have many people trained for that same post. We have rapid response teams. We have extreme coverage that is unmatched in this market. So when we talk about coverage and turnover, let's not be confused. That's not a weakness, that's a strength. We back up the posts. The other mention that was a negative for Transwest, county experience limited to Kern. This should be very insulting to your board. You are promoting local vendors. A local vendor that has all of their employees here is going to be servicing places like Bakersfield College, Kern High School District, the City of Bakersfield Parks and Rec, Police Department, and the County of Kern. That's what Transwest does. If you're going to penalize Transwest for being local because they're not on the far reaches of the various states in the United States or out in San Luis Obispo, Ventura, LA, I'm describing Allied now. If you're going to penalize them for that, what you're saying is we don't support local vendors. A local vendor will have jobs locally. If you're going to be impressed by someone that has a completely different job in a completely different town, and frankly, you don't know that you're going to get those jobs here in Bakersfield, those positions here in Bakersfield, those experiences here in Bakersfield and Kern County. But if you're not going to value what Transwest does locally, you are actually penalizing Transwest for being a local vendor. So not only do we have instances where the local vendor preference wasn't used appropriately, but we're actually penalizing someone for not having out-of-town experience. The comment that basic technology features for post notifications and training is a little bit absurd. Transwest uses a proprietary software called FormForced. It's made the software to perfectly fit the security industry, which is a huge accomplishment for a local vendor. What's interesting, if we look to attachment J in the scope of work, it specifically requires the vendor to use FormForce to manage that post because of how successful it is in real-time, geotagged reporting photos and updates. That means if there's a change to a post, it's automatically updated through an iOS system right onto an iPad or an iPhone. At this point, I think I want to address a very important issue, pricing. I will mention that Transwest was docked for a number of reasons on pricing, and one of them was it doesn't describe levels. I hope that you are as shocked as I am, because all the levels are there. Every single one. That's right out of our RFP, our proposal. The comment that Transwest has a moving scale on how much it's going to pay its employees is just not correct. We have no COLAs. The price is the price. We've got it in there. Transwest has firm pricing. That's different than Cervexo. Cervexo's goes up every year. And it's got all-inclusive rates, and that's different than Allied. Allied has a bunch of extra add-ons that were not calculated in the evaluation process. Again, Transwest has firm pricing, and it's all-inclusive rates. The RFP required 2-year fixed. We're fixed for 2 years, period. I think it's important that we talk about Cervexo. I'll try to move quickly through it. It's just important because it explains a little bit of the shortcomings in the process. I've shown you a couple snips here. The RFP requires that you disclose clients you've had in the last 2 years. Please indicate why you're not currently working for them. That's what wasn't disclosed to the evaluation committee, or frankly anyone, in connection with the RFP process. I'd like to read just a little bit of Kristen Kaufman's email. June 2022, obviously within the 2 years before the RFP proposal was submitted. She indicated, we've had many issues with Cervexo since the beginning of the price agreement. I'm going to skip forward. We've had issues with guards showing up late, not showing up at all, guards wanting to do their job from their parked car in the park, and guards not wanting to approach the public when individuals approach the entrance to the building. When someone is out, we are never provided a backup or replacement. This facility assists victims of domestic violence, sexual assault, and trauma. We must ensure the facility is safe and secure so victims may seek services. Please let me know when Transwest can begin services, as we are currently without a guard. I'd want to know that happened if I was on the evaluation committee. And in no world would this vendor get my top points. I thought that maybe the evaluation committee was onto something because they seemed to understand some of the issues. In reviewing the written proposal from Cervexa, they said, look, it appears to have decent manpower using subcontractors. Okay, so they get it. Cervexa doesn't have the people. But if they're subcontractors, I want to know about the subcontractors. Are they reliable? Do they have insurance? What is their background? What is their history? None of that was done. Post-interview, I really think that they're onto something. Unsure of staffing plan feasibility, flexibility not well demonstrated for rural areas, lacking experience, plan not fully developed, did not elaborate on technology and staffing. So at this point, we would all expect the evaluation committee to ding Cervexo and recognize their incumbent vendor who has to have 125 to 150 guards across the county to manage its post, which is done successfully. Was not a fair assumption. Cervexo, 8 out of 10 for project team qualifications. Transwest, 7.25 out of 10. Incredulous, absurd. Let's talk about staff's recommendation. I heard that it was a 4-month evaluation process. When I found out that Allied got the bid, I did a Google search. Allied complaints. Enter. Time Magazine's article from last year was one of the first hits. If I'm on the evaluation committee, I'm reading that article. Again, basic common sense. How much is it costing? Is it any good? Title of the article, The Problems Inside North America's Largest Security Firm and Third Biggest Employer. That's only behind Walmart and Amazon. Time Magazine article refers to Allied keeps winning contracts but lacks the staff to fulfill them. I want to know more about that. Why am I taking a risk for the county without knowing more about that, especially if I've got my incumbent vendor who's going to save me $2.5 million? Allied guards have allegedly killed civilians. Allied employees say supervisors encourage employees to cut corners, told to ignore stoplights and exceed speed limits while on patrol. None of that is in all of the documents. I got 9 binders worth of documents on Thursday afternoon from the county in response to my records request. None of that's in there. Simply put, they didn't investigate Allied. Let's go back to the easy stuff. Price. Want to know how much it's going to cost? There's a lot of words up there. There should only be one word. It should be $5.50 a mile. We have a mileage cost. It's all built in. That's what Transwest has. You're paying a lease rate almost, a really heavy lease rate, $1,125 to $1,540 a month per vehicle for Allied, on top of their mileage, plus their fuel costs, plus what appears to be some software. The list goes on. These next slides are just the same thing right out of their proposal. I want to know how much it's going to cost if I'm on the evaluation committee. That wasn't evaluated. I'm going to tell you the punchline. It's another $800,000. $800,000. And I know that you get a lot of people coming to your board asking for money. They'd be pretty upset if you're throwing out $800,000 when you've got a performing vendor doing the exact same thing with all-inclusive rates. This one hurts. Every vendor is going to have a transition plan, but I've read Allied's transition plan. It's a poaching plan. And I only include this stuff in the slides so you know that I'm not exaggerating. They've got a detailed timeline to come poach our employees. They're going to have employee packs to incumbents that they've retained. They're going to have an open house that they're going to invite our employees to so they can entertain them and bring them over. And I've included all the slides. That's exactly what their plan is. I've got Transwest guards in the room with me today, and I'd like you to stand. And if you're also a local business here to support Transwest, I'd also like you to stand. Thank you. If you'll please be seated. In the last couple of weeks, we've had folks show up at Transwest for a job. They were told Allied told them to come there. We had one guy show up with what appeared to be a brand new Allied uniform asking for a job at Transwest. It takes about 2 weeks to train guards and to get them guard carded. The reason why it hurts, this is disgusting. This is not appropriate. And this is, as an evaluation committee, you need to ask in a transition plan, how are you going to get there without stealing employees away from a local company? And I gave you some facts that you can make your own conclusion on in terms of these Allied employees or coming to us for a job or telling us that they went to Allied first. But here's the punchline. Right now, it's $2.5 million. When that poaching plan is executed, Transwest won't be back in 5 years to be able to bid on this. It will eliminate more than 25% of its workforce. So all the local businesses you saw stand, all the local businesses you saw on that list, that's it. It's over. We're done. So it's $2.5 million today, but in 5 years, it's whatever Allied tells you the price is, because they will be the only game in town. You can ask Cervexo that couldn't get one guard on a post, but I don't think that's going to work. No choice in 5 years or an easy choice today. This is an easy choice. You've got a great local performing vendor. You've got clear, firm pricing. We are locked in for 2 years. You got a reliable security firm. I'm asking you and your board to make the easy choice, the right choice, the reasoned choice, to respectfully disregard staff's recommendation and award this contract to Transwest. If there's any questions, I'll be available, and I'd be happy to approach the podium. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to suggest that you stay close in case there are questions. So who'll be the next speaker? Good morning.
Good morning, Chairman Couch and members of the board. I'm Wendy Porter. I run the nonprofit Wounded Heroes Fund here in Kern County. My husband and I started it at our kitchen table 15 years ago. We now occupy 5,000 square feet and provide a ton of services for our local veterans and their families. One of our biggest being our food pantry and serving food insecurity in the veteran community. We feed 400 to 600 people a month out of our food pantry, and that's just our local veterans and their family members. In the 15 years that we've grown and become who we are, we wouldn't have been able to do it without the community members, community businesses. Local supports local, and the money that is donated to us or granted to us, we keep that money here in Kern County, providing help to our local veterans. Without a business like Transwest, we wouldn't be able to do what we do. We know national companies don't normally donate to local causes. That's one of our biggest, I think, things to be proud of, is that we take care of ourselves, we take care of each other. If a need's there, we fill it. So I'm here in support of Transwest remaining the vendor for the county, continuing that local support, and not just for the employees and the families, but for all the nonprofits in town that local businesses like Transwest support. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Porter. All right, I'm gonna ask that we not applaud each and every speaker. By the way, I didn't recognize you, Ms. Porter. I should have called upon Allied to make their presentation before we really got into other comments. So that's my fault. Is Allied or any representatives of Allied here that would like to speak? We want to make sure that you are offered as much time as you need.
Thank you, Board of Supervisors. I won't need very much time. Okay. I actually wasn't prepared to put a full presentation together like Transwest. But I will, my name is Tad Garabedian. I'm the government specialist for Allied Universal. I handle our government contracting in the Southwest U.S. And I would definitely am not going to come up here. We're actual employees for Allied Universal. We're not trial lawyers, so we're not really I'm not going to go tit for tat against a lawyer on this, but I do want to point out, before I just kind of give you a brief description of Allied, just a couple of things that were noted on there. With respect to, it was kind of a smokescreen. There were numbers that he changed to change scoring. I mean, that's just completely contrary to the way the public procurement process works. And I could certainly have done the same thing and gone through their proposal and crisscrossed and said, oh, they should have gotten more points deducted here, or we should have gotten more here. It's just not the way that it works. So that's, as a lawyer, he would know that in court that would probably have been not admissible. It talked about poaching employees. And I just, that kind of struck home. I would think that the county would want us to hire incumbent staff, at least offer them jobs. They've got the knowledge, they've got the expertise. And so to turn that into a negative, we transition contracts on both sides, where we win contracts and we lose contracts. And actually, when we lose contracts, we're graceful, and we don't want to hurt the customer and say, you can't go there. So to use that as a negative, I think is kind of stunning. We would think, and actually, the one thing that he didn't put up there on numbers was the wage. And he even admitted it. He said, in a minimum wage industry, he said it from here, and it was in their protest. We're not going to pay minimum wage. We're going to pay the employees better wages than what they are getting today. And the final thing I'm going to say before I go into just a little bit about Allied is that $2 million number, that is a joke. That's absolutely, utterly ridiculous. Even the numbers he had up there on vehicle costs. They charge for vehicles. $2,550 a month is what's in their proposal. It's in the protest. Our cost for vehicles, as it showed up there, were $1,225 plus $500 for fuel. Our vehicle cost, if you compare apples to apples, was actually less than theirs. So the numbers were, again, if you gave us the chance to come up here and put on that kind of presentation, we could fudge the numbers as well. But we're not here to talk about that. The Allied that I work for and have worked for 15 years, as well as some of my compadres here, is not the Allied that was just described on that screen. Allied is a large provider, and with that comes big advantages for the county. Aside from being a big provider, we have a big presence right here in Kern County. They talk about their strength as a local provider, but we operate an office right down the street here in Bakersfield on California. We employ over 460 Kern County residents out of that Bakersfield office. And I think that's about at par, if not a little more, maybe a little less, but right about the same number as Transwest employees right here in Kern County. These are managers, they're operations managers, trainers, recruiters, line level security professionals. They all work right out of that Bakersfield office. So to try to say we don't have a local presence is simply false. We are the premier provider of security services to government agencies in the country. More importantly than that, we are the premier provider to government agencies right here in Southern California. He mentioned it. Los Angeles County, San Bernardino County, San Diego County, Orange County, Ventura County, San Luis Obispo County Courts. There is a reason that those counties go for our services. We provide better solutions. And these contracts have been awarded, and we've gone through a competitive bid process and been re-awarded these contracts because we continue to provide better services. What do? We invest heavily in our people. We've invested, they talked about their proprietary system. We've literally invested millions and millions of dollars on guard tour tracking systems, on systems to prevent, they were talking about call-offs and no-shows. We've developed specific technology to address that. Not we're going to pick up somebody on a bus and go and give them a ride. We've got ways to get a hold of employees immediately before they even don't show. We've got mechanisms to make sure that we've alerted other individuals that are available to work that there's a post open, and they can do it digitally on their phone. Talked about wages. We've got more competitive wages than they're currently paying. And I'm going to kind of finish on one thing. I mean, they've kind of shot down staff. They've shot down us. Staff followed the rules. They clearly articulated how an RFP process takes place. We followed the rules. We did everything right. What I find ironic is that staff put the RFP together, but ultimately it was in the hands of the evaluators, which were brought up by all parties here today. They're the actual departments that receive services under this contract. It was a sheriff, it was libraries, it was human services, and it was public health. The actual customers that are receiving the services, they are the evaluators. They are the ones who read the proposals. They are the ones that conducted the interviews, and they are the ones who ultimately determined that Allied Universal offered a superior plan than what they were getting. It's that simple. You can put all of this stuff on the screen, and you can throw all kinds of shade on everything, but at the end of the day, the people that made the decision are the people that are receiving the services. So with that, I'm just going to kind of close. I know Eddie Eccles wants to just say a brief word about his experience at Allied Universal. We would be honored to be chosen as the provider. Again, we followed the procedures. We know that procurement followed the procedures properly, and we look forward to a positive vote from the supervisors this afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Morning.
Good morning, Chairman Couch, Board of Supervisors. Appreciate the time. This is Kevin. Kevin's our branch manager from Bakersfield, and he's a local guy, and he would like to address the board very quickly.
Okay. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for allowing me a few minutes. I'm the face of Kern County operations for Allied Universal. I've been providing services in Kern County for almost 31 years. And in 2015, excuse me, the local company I was with was purchased by Allied Universal. Since that time, it's been a whirlwind to say the least, but it's been a great ride. Allied Universal is a great company to work for. They pay premium wages. They support their employees with a lot of perks and products and things that are available to them that they need. And I am the local, this is what I do. I've been here, I got a local office on California. Again, in total, we employ about 612 officers in Kern County. We reach out to Ridgecrest, to Rosamond, to the far reaches. With that, we have the staffing to be able to cover those outlying areas. After the earthquake in Ridgecrest, we immediately had to send officers out there. We were out there for some period of time. As they were on their way back here, after everything was, quote, fixed and out there, they had that big aftershock, and we had to turn around and go right back out there. We provided those services without a hitch, and I know that we can do that for the county. And I would just like to say, in my 30-plus years of providing services, I've never had a vetting process like we had with this RFP. Tad will say of all the counties that we've done, this one was very intense and scrutinized everything. And I think the county employees did an excellent job of putting this together. It wasn't a couple of people in the room going over some of these proposals and let's flip a coin and see who it was. It was a very strict vetting process that was done. And I think it would be a disservice to the many county employees who spent a lot of hours and a lot of time in this RFP process to now overrule, I think, what they did. So I just respectfully ask supervisors that you would abide by their recommendations and award this RFP to Allied Universal.
For the record, can you give us your last name?
Ormonde, O-R-M-O-N-D-E.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. So I'm the regional vice president for the region. Bakersfield, Kern County sits under my region. And I'd just like to address the comments made about turnover. Direct correlation to pay rates. As Tad mentioned, our pay rates are higher, $2 to $3 higher in the proposal. And that's a benefit to the local employees that we want to bring in, and based on the poaching plan that was posed to you. So that's the first benefit. Then we've got medical benefits, which is another benefit that Allied Universal are able to provide the local people. We've got a separate branch down in Palmdale, which also services part of, it's not in Kern County, but it services a lot of our employees out of Kern County. So we have a big footprint in Kern County. My region is running 44% turnover. The Southwest for Allied Universal is 60%. And the national average is about 80%.
80?
80%, sorry. And I'm very proud of that number. That turnover is everything, because for me, that's your employees that are experienced. They know the job. They're on post every day. It's not a big turnover. There's no additional training. There's no additional costs from either side. Having that low turnover is everything, and that's based predominantly on the pay rate. And we pushed our pay rate up so that the majority of the markup change at 44%, that number is going into the employee's pay packet. It's not 66% markup, which is what Transwest have put in. So they're paying their employees minimum wage, but they're charging you the maximum. So I'd just like to point that one out. Now, we can all dig up history on Allied Universal, and we can pull out things from the internet. I'll let you know a story, my story, when I came over. As you can tell, I'm not from Mississippi. I came from the UK with my wife. She's from California. And I was looking for a job for 2 years and unsuccessful. Ex-military, 22 years service in the British military. I found a job with Allied Universal as a part-time security professional. Part-time, on the ground, working Saturdays and Sundays. I worked through COVID. I know what that was like when our troops were going out there and everyone else was sent home, and I was traveling out there. I was one of those guys on the ground in North Carolina. And I worked hard, and I promoted to branch manager. And then I became a client manager. And then I transitioned over to North Carolina and became the regional director of operations, and now I'm the regional vice president. That took me 5 years. So you want to talk about opportunity for Allied Universal on a global scale. I've transitioned across the world, and I've promoted very quickly because I put in the time and the effort. And that's the opportunity that we are affording the employees of Kern County if they come and work for us, if we're provided the contract. That's all I'm going to say on that. I appreciate your time and your consideration. Thank you, sir.
Remind us of your name.
Edward Eccles.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Morning.
Good morning. Thank you for the time. Appreciate it. My name is Andy Coleman. I'm the vice president for Allied Universal. Just two things that kind of hit, and for me, it's become a little bit personal. So the first thing I'll say is that I'm a father. I'm also the father of a few veterans. And so when it comes to dealing with veterans, our company employs more veterans than anyone else in the country, bar none. We've been awarded that. We have accolades for that. There's data behind that. That's not just a statement I'm making. I'm going on record. We employ more. And I think why that's critical is because that's what I've done for my own son. When people ask, what do you do for veterans? The best thing you can do is give them a job. train them, give them an opportunity to utilize the skills that they had in the military, thank them for that, and give them a job. And that's what we do all across the U.S., day in and day out, more than any other company. So it's personal for me, because that's the life my son is living now after finishing up his service in the Marines. And the other part is, I'm a dad too. You never want to be in a position where you're surrounded by your loved ones and you think you've lost your job. I know who's in the room behind me. I stood at the door and watched them all come in. And I think somehow this got positioned is that dad or mom or brother or uncle is losing their job today. That's not true. What is happening is that the contract is changing. The same speech I'm giving you is what we tell a number of different individuals when we are awarded a contract. You didn't lose your job. I would like to meet with you and talk to you because you're a good performer. You're a good citizen. You're a good security professional. All I want to know is if you want to come work for me. And in doing so, here's what you have. And in this case, it's $3 an hour on top of the other benefits we have. So it gets personal. I don't want to be in front of a podium or in front of a group of people and have them walk out the room and say, Dad, did I just lose my job? You didn't. The company just lost the contract. We're happy to talk to you. And then the further part is it goes on to the situation that Eddie talked about. There may be a number of people sitting behind you right now that aren't employed by my company, and for whatever reason, they have to relocate. Great. I have 385 branch offices all around the U.S. I would happily have you talk to someone and place you somewhere else in the country because you have to move, still working for our company. So that's the only piece. I just want to make sure you understood. It is personal. So I appreciate the time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Coleman. Any other comments before we close it up? Do you want me to, Ms. Martinez, do you have any comments you'd like to make?
Yes, I would like to address the comment that.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Would you prefer to speak now? Or yeah, let's go all the public comments. Anybody that wants to speak to this item is allowed. Anybody?
Sorry,
Thank
got
you.
confused with Wendy.
Okay.
Good morning, Chairman and members of the Board of Supervisors.
Morning.
My name is Cassie Biddle, and I am here today as a small business owner, not as my role as a commissioner for the City of Bakersfield. Some of you may have eaten at my family's restaurant, Casey's Steakhouse. We are located in downtown Bakersfield in the heart of Kern County. So the need for security is nothing new for us. But what I am here today to talk about is why it is so critical to stay local for the future of our community and why I am here in support of another local business, Transwest Security Services. We have been in operation for over 80 years and have seen many businesses close because of the economy and weak labor force brought on by COVID and other unintended impacts to our local economy. As we know, our economy is so fragile, and for me, when big oil, agriculture, and other service industries leave, consolidate, or downsize, it leaves me with less patrons. I know the power of the economic multiplier effect when purchasing supplies, hiring local, long-term qualified labor, and giving back to our great community. As you just heard in Mr. Dugan's presentation, there are 3 critical issues that hope you take into consideration when making your decision. Cost savings to the taxpayers, our county budget, the reliability and quality of services by Transwest, but lastly, and most importantly, the local vendor, a firm who eats at our local restaurants, purchases vehicles at our local dealerships, and gives back to the wounded heroes, JJ's Legacy, Kern County 999 Foundation, and so many more. Transwest is trusted, proven, and provided for Kern County. Thank you for your time, and I hope you overturn staff's recommendation to stay local.
Thank you, Ms. Biddle. Good morning.
Good morning, Chairman Couch and County Supervisors. My name is Andy Stanley. I'm the Chairman of the Board for Kern Economic Development Corporation. I'm here in support of Transwest Security. For 36 years, Kern EDC has worked to promote economic growth across our county, and a key to our economic vitality is the impact that businesses that are locally owned. Transwest has had a long history of support for our local community and has been a long-term partner of KEDC over many years, helping us drive economic growth. Transwest has the knowledge and expertise that allows them to provide exceptional security services. Their ownership and management are from Kern County. They are our neighbors. They support local organizations. They are part of the lifeblood of our community. Transwest is what it means to be a local vendor. From the information that I've seen, Transwest has successfully fulfilled their contracts and are the ones that can present the best value for Kern County. I believe Transwest deserves the board's consideration, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Stanley. Anyone else? If you would like to speak, please come to the front row so we can get you up to the microphone quickly. Morning.
Chairman Couch, honorable members of the board, my name is Cyrus Mojibi with San Joaquin Refining Company. I had prepared a longer speech for today, but I think in an effort of time and not to repeat things, I'll make it real quick. 3 things. Lowest bid by a locally owned company who happens to be the incumbent and the best suited to fill the job. I can tell you as a local business owner, that is literally the dream bid. That is the dream proposal. If that was the only bids we had to deal with, if that was the only proposals, business would be a heck of a lot easier. I don't even really know what we're doing here talking about this, but the idea that it's even up for discussion is beyond me. But most importantly, speaking of Transwest, I want to talk about their consideration as a philanthropic member of the community. And we all get a bit numb to it, and I assume the 3 of you do also, because I see all 3 of you out at charitable events along with Supervisor Flores. And as we look at the t-shirts, whether it's Wounded Heroes or any of the other organizations that are here, look at the back of their t-shirts, you always see the Transwest logo. It's always there. They are a formidable member of the charitable community here, and I think that that is an important factor to take in. So, you know, it is really with these reasons, along with the simple fact that they are the most qualified for the job, that I urge the board to reconsider the staff recommendation and award the bid to Transwest. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mojibi. Anyone else? Mr. Bowers, morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and distinguished members of the board. I'll keep my comments under 2 hours. My name is Michael Bowers, and I'm here representing Dr. Bridge Bombi, our 62 physicians, Centric Health, the Kern County Hispanic Chamber Foundation as a board member, and Jay Tamsey, who is the CEO and president of the Kern County Hispanic Chamber. I'm here in support of local business Transwest Security Services, the incumbent vendor. I urge you to reconsider and plans to outsource our local security company, Transwest Security. It is crucial that we prioritize keeping jobs within our community, supporting local business, and sustaining the positive impact on local economy. As a healthcare executive with Centric, we know what it means to purchase supplies and employ local talent, no different than Transwest. Transwest Security not only provides employment to residents, but also actively supports nonprofits and other businesses. Their commitment and unwavering devotion to our community extends beyond security services, fostering a network of local support that benefits us all. Outsourcing to a national company could undermine these efforts, potentially leading to job loss, reduced support for local initiatives. Keeping Transwest Security in place ensures that our community continues to thrive economically and socially. I strongly encourage you to maintain the support for Transwest Security, and by doing so, reaffirm your commitment to the well-being of our local economy. Thank you. I yield back my time.
Thank you. Morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, board members. I'm Mac Wimbish, former CHP officer and sheriff of Kern County. Felt compelled to be here today when I heard the staff's recommendation regarding the RFP. You've heard testimony today about cost savings and the value of being a local vendor, but I would like to take a moment to address the issue of performance and safety. And today, I've heard conflicts on different issues today and everything, but I'd like to give you just my personal observation. As a former sheriff, I can testify, and I witnessed top quality and reliability service during my time with the county. Today, Transwest Services covers the court system, a highly secure area. During that time, my deputy bailiffs at that time, along with Transwest security staff, worked hand in hand to deal with any challenges and direct threats. There is now a check-in desk at almost every department, including the 5th floor where your offices are. As the world has changed, Transwest has stepped up to the county's needs and challenges, and boy, has the world changed. I'm old enough to remember coming into this building through the east door or the south door, no check-in, no delay. So yes, the world has changed. In the end, it goes to the testament of Transwest leadership being able to execute when it comes to public safety. In all their current assignments throughout Kern County, from Ridgecrest to Taft, from Delano to Bakersfield, even on a few hours' notice sometimes, Transwest has been on hand with the necessary manpower to staff its post. They can adjust on the fly, which I have witnessed. I appreciate your time today and ask that you carefully consider your decision when evaluating today's staff recommendation, and please stay local. And for me, as the past sheriff, it was all about safety and performance. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
I apologize ahead. I'm a little nervous. I'm not accomplished. I'm just a basic security officer. I'm nothing special. But Allied gave me the chance to relocate after I quit my job the night before.
Can you give us your name, please?
Sorry, I apologize.
That's okay.
My name is Renee Holland. I've been in
Thank you.
security for 10 years, and I've worked with Allied for 2 years. I can't say much except for companies. I've seen them lose and gain contracts back and forth, and Allied has done the same, much like Transwest. First, I want to thank them, and I want to thank all of you for seeing me today, and I want to thank Transwest also for giving their perspective on their expertise in security also. All I can say for Allied is they've done well for me. They've given me opportunities in pay, wages. I've never had an issue in my rates or my pay and payroll. I've been given multiple opportunities. If I do happen to almost miss a shift because my car does break down, they do help me in any way that they can. So that's all I can say. I can offer my experience with them has been one of the best so far. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Holland. Sure. Supervisor Peters.
I just wanted to say, Ms. Holland, you said you're not accomplished, but you've been working for 10 years and you've been protecting businesses and people, and I'd say that's a good accomplishment.
Hello, my name is Melissa. I'm nervous. I am not a public speaker. I'm an Allied Universal receptionist. This company has been great to work with in my experience. We as a team work together to relay any and all information given to us by guards or clients, and work together to resolve those issues and concerns. In my experience, I've been able to grow in my position and in the field. This company also gives everyone an opportunity to grow in their position or in life. If someone wants to work in other companies or in other careers, they are encouraged to do so. I have been through a lot in the past year in my personal life. My daughter was diagnosed with leukemia and I lost my husband. My managers have been very understanding and supportive with everything I've been through. This is one of the many reasons I would recommend anyone to work for and work with Allied Universal Security. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm sorry, ma'am, Melissa, was it?
Melissa, yes.
Could you give us your last name too? Just for our record?
Ortega.
What is it?
Ortega.
Okay,
Ortega.
Thank you very much.
Good morning, everybody. My name's Charles Smith. I'm the field supervisor for Allied Universal. I've worked for this company for over 10 years. I was hired by Kevin when it was Kern Security, and then we were bought by Allied and brought into the fold. So I've trained most of these guards that are here today, all from Kern County. I was not raised here in Kern County, but my grandparents were. They told me about going to the blackboard. I went to Trouts. I went all the way out to Mesa Marin when there was nothing there. I used to live on Gosford when there was nothing but cotton fields, and cotton was king in Bakersfield. And Producers Oil was sitting down there all over the place, taking care of Kern County. So for Transwest to sit here and tell me I'm not from Kern County, I'm a little offended. All my guards are from Kern County. They're all good guards. I've picked up my guards and taken them to posts myself. Not a bus, not anything else. So for them to throw those kind of accusations from pinheads It bothers me personally because I am just as much Kern County as anyone else in this room. I thank you very much for listening to me.
Thank you, Mr. Smith.
Good morning. My name is AJ Bajwa. I'm the operations manager.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch your last name.
Can you spell it?
Bajwa, B-A-J-W-A.
Thank you.
Good morning. I want to start this by saying I was not invited here. And I was not sent an email that, hey, there's a meeting, would you like to join? I knew about this. And I could be sitting in office right now doing my stuff, but this was important to me. And the reason this was so important is because I keep hearing this thing about local and employment and all that stuff. And I'm a hiring manager for Allied as well. So I directly hire my employees. And I've been doing that for 10 years. All Kern County residents. I don't want to make it sound like, what everybody else is saying, but I'll tell you my side. I have hired a lot of Transwest people. As a matter of fact, right now, I have a bunch of Transwest people working for me. They work for Transwest and they're working for me too, for Allied. And when I keep saying me is because local management matters. The reason why I love Allied is because you want to be somewhere where you're celebrated, not tolerated. In an industry like security where everybody thinks it's a minimum wage position, it's not. Our company makes it sure that our people are not minimum wage employees. We reduce our markups just so we can pay our employees better. We don't tell them that it's minimum wage. No, we are competing because what we think is this. Why would this person work for me or for this company making 16, 17 bucks an hour? They can go to McDonald's for 20. Now what? Do I want to lose a good worker to McDonald's? I don't. I want a great security professional in a good position making good money. When we hire people, and I'm notorious for this, I barely say no to anyone. I feel that everybody has potential. Every person who walks in my office looking for a job has potential. We have so much business and presence in Kern County that I can put you where you may not even think you will excel, but I see that potential in you as an employee. Now, Transwest, and I get it, losing a contract is painful, and absolutely, it is. I don't run a company or nothing, I just work for one. But when we lose contracts, I call my employees and I tell them that, hey, if the new company is going to hire you, go with them. They're going to pay you better, stay with them. But if you still want to work for us, we'll find you home in Kern County. You will not have to relocate. You will not have to go anywhere. Nothing's going to happen. Your life's going to be just the same or even better. There is no threat to any current Transwest employee at all. All of them here who are sitting, spread the word. If we get this contract, you'll make better money, you'll have better benefits, you'll be in a better position. Being with a big company in a local market like Kern County, you will grow. You will grow, and sky's the limit. I have Kern County residents who have moved to different states due to whatever reason, family, marriage, or something happened or whatever. They need to go to different places. They are never in distress, ever. They come to us, they say, hey, AJ, I need to move to Chicago because whatever. Or I need to go to Washington or Vegas. Can I get transferred? Will I have a job? Absolutely. We care, we watch out for each other. We promote from within. We make sure that if you have the potential, we give you the tools to be successful. You're just not going to be a security guard. And people say that word very lowly. And that is offensive because a lot of security guards do much more than people can think. They are in positions where normal people would not want to be in, be it hospitals, be it transportation systems, be it a school, a college, wherever. So, you know, when Renee said, and thank you, Mr. Peters, that, you know, you applauded her for that, but yes, you have been doing an amazing job. She has helped me out so much. And opportunity to make money. You're working in Kern County. You're just not stuck here. And Renee is a good example because she, I sent her to one of the events on the coast, and she loved to be there. It was a good resort. Everything was paid for, right from here to there. It was premium high wages, and I think she made a paycheck in a week what people make in a month. How is that possible? Because security is such a minimum wage job. It's not. Not for us, not for our company. So again, without taking more time of everyone, I want to make sure that Transwest employees understand that you are going to be in a better position working for us. You will have better wages. I mean, just right off looking at those numbers, I was looking at the markup, what Transwest had with the pay rate and the bill rate. And I calculated, it was 1.7. That's a huge markup. Obviously, those employees are making minimum wage. Because how is Transwest going to survive with those bill rates if they pay their employees a bit better? They can't. And I get it. But pointing to one more point, I saw in a couple of comments here about local business community members, and I get it. Absolutely. But that's not what we are here for. This whole discussion is not about what Transwest has done in the past. That's not this discussion at all. This discussion is, and this is a question to be asked. So where did Transwest fail? Why did we get awarded this, I mean, not got awarded yet, but, you know, why were we selected as the preferred choice by the county, and where so many departments were involved? It was not one person, two people, it was so many people. So the question is, where did Transwest fail then? If I'm Transwest and I'm doing such an amazing job and I am number one in everything, then what happened? Where did we fail? I mean, I'm speaking as Transwest now. So if I'm so good, why all this? Because I should be by far exceeding in all the points, all the numbers, in value, in every service I have done for this county, right? But that's not the case. That's simply not the case. Where one vendor failed is the whole reason why we are doing this. And so many recommendations came in place. I was looking at the points. Well, 108 is what we got, and there was 66. I mean, I would see if there's some competition here, because if it's 108 to, say, 100, I get it. But 108 and 66? So where did Transwest lack? All those great services which I've been hearing, like what happened? That's a question, right? Everybody should be asking that question. What happened? It's not a small gap, it's a big gap. Now, I will close my little speech, but once again, the big point is nobody's job is under threat. You will be given better benefits, more pay, more opportunity, just not in Kern County. You want to move out somewhere else? Absolutely. You want to go to Alaska, Hawaii? Sure. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Would you like, you know, we only have, I'm sorry, hang on one second. Since there's only 3 of us, if anybody has to leave the dais, and I understand, we really don't have a quorum anymore and we can't continue the meeting. Is that right, Ms. Rezan? Okay, so we've all been sitting here a while. I'm going to suggest that we take maybe a 10-minute recess. What is it? What time is it? 11:09. We reconvene at 11:20. Do I need a motion to do that, or can I just do that as the chair? What's appropriate?
I think you can adjourn for 10 minutes.
Okay, we're going to take a recess for, let's make it 15 minutes, and we'll be back at 11:25. Thank you.
Can I ask one thing, Mr. Couch? I have to leave, and I'll just take 2 minutes if you give me 2 minutes.
We'll take a recess after you're done.
Okay, great. My name is Debbie Ormondi. I was the vice president of Kern Security. I worked in the security business most of my life, 34 years as an adult in the security business, and was a partner when we moved to Kern Security, which is why I moved to Bakersfield in the first place. When I decided to start a nonprofit in 2011, I left Kern Security to start this nonprofit, and my husband, who you've heard from earlier, stayed at Allied Universal. But I didn't know that they sold the guard department until one day we were doing a special event, and during that event they told me it's sold to Allied. And I was like, oh my gosh, I sold and left my job, and now my husband's going to be unemployed. They actually brought him on board, and they gave him all of his benefits that he had previously at Kern Security, and he's been there since that time. And what they've done for us is make it so that I can do a lot of stuff in our community. And I am somebody that is always out in our community working with lost and homeless people and people in prison and jail. So I just wanted to tell you that by them doing this, if you give them the contract, it doesn't mean people don't have jobs. It doesn't mean that things are not going to go into our economy. It doesn't seem that we're not going to have things, because we are. We're going to have more people spending more money in our county. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we're recessed until 11:25. Thank you. Okay, so I'll reconvene our meeting. We were in the middle of comments on item 20. I don't know if we had concluded them all or not. Are there any other comments on item 20? Okay.
Hi, my name is Audrey Leverett, and I have the privilege of being in a position with Transwest that allows me to talk to employees that we hire before we send them out to post. And I hear a lot about other companies, about them, and one of the big things that Allied does is they send their employees to us for a free guard card, then to go work with them. And I wish I would have been able to comment on everything that was said today, but obviously I'm not. My loyalty is with Transwest, and I think it's kind of a joke that the gentleman speaking is turning around trying to employ all Transwest people to go to him. You have a job. But where's the loyalty in that? The grass is not greener on the other side. Thank you.
Could you spell your last name for us for our record?
Leverett.
Thank you. Any other comments today? Madam, Ms. Rezon, do we need to allow any type of rebuttal in this type of a hearing, or can we just move on to board members?
I would allow both Transwest and the gentleman who spoke for Allied first to make any comments that they might have.
Who would like to go first? I tell you what, Transwest went first last time.
I think Allied is.
You are, for the record, you are waiving your.
For the record, we're waiving our right to.
Actually, I'm sorry to bother you and have to do that, but could you come to the microphone and actually say that for the record? Thank you.
Sure. My name is Tad Garabedian, and on behalf of Allied Universal, we have rebutted. We're not going to speak any longer.
Thank you for saying that on the record. Same offer.
Mr. Chairman, I appreciate the opportunity to really bring it back to what we're here for today. We're not here to watch one of the speakers turn his back to your board to try to recruit our employees. We're not a minimum wage employer. We've got people well above minimum wage. I figure if I give that information up, we know how that information will be used. We know they gobbled up Kern Security. I'm here for a local vendor that wants to stay independent and local here in Kern County. I appreciate that Allied did not have an opportunity to review apparently their own bid, certainly our bid, the documents, the factual information I presented to you. Factual information I presented to you not just in person today, but in your binder. And with all the information that you have, it's actually a really simple decision in front of your board today. Do you have a reliable vendor? Absolutely. This didn't go out to bid because Transwest failed. This went out to bid because, as your staff commented, it's been a while. And in good government, you go out to bid from time to time. And what you learned is that same reliable vendor came in way under staff's recommendation. Very simple. Reliable local vendor at $2.5 million under staff's recommendation. And so once again, I ask your board to respectfully overturn staff's recommendation and award the contract to Transwest today. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dodson. Anybody else before we close it down? Seeing none, I'm going to return it to the board. I see Supervisor Perez has punched in.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm going to first begin by thanking the brilliant professionals of Kern County that have engaged in what I see as a very courageous act today, and I mean that. We've been at this for some time together. I've been here a dozen years, and we know the drill here. And the fact that you went out and spent a 4-month process that included the members of the county family who are on the front lines and who know the quality of service of our current vendor, the fact that you did that took the time to listen, engage the county family, and give them real, at least the appearance of, some influence, I think is really an extraordinary step for Kern County. And I don't know what's going to happen here. I've seen this before. So I just want to say to you both and to the county team how extraordinary it is to sit here and watch you engage in what I think is a courageous act of telling the truth about quality of service, telling the truth about who our county family is and who they trust and believe and how they want to advance Kern County and Kern County's interests is just, it's stunning. And I'm humbled by it, I have to be honest. And I'm encouraged by it because I think we're moving in the right direction. And I just want to say thank you for making today about the quality of service, about livable wages versus poverty wages, in my opinion, and in giving a company that is clearly interested in upward mobility, livable wages, benefits to their people. It's really a stunning moment, and I wish that we always operated that way. And as you know, it's just simply not the way it goes often. So I want to say that truly the most disheartening thing that I see as a supervisor and have for a dozen years is to watch the expertise, the heart, the morality of our county family be disregarded, discarded by politicians. It really, it's a gut punch that should bother everybody. It really should, because you're seeing it unfold right in front of you, and it is clear as day what it is. So I want to again thank you for presenting to this board a moral company that is interested in high-value, quality service and in paying its employees the kind of wages that have them stick around, feel like they're part of this community, and they're not going to be stuck in poverty the rest of their lives, one dead-end job after another. You know, it strikes me that you hear today from a company that has a $7 million contract with the county and apparently enough funds to make charitable contributions all over town, but still pay poverty wages to their employees. I think that's really quite stunning. Charitable contributions versus the investment into your own employees. I think there's a serious problem there, and it's an issue of morality. And I don't know how much that guides other elected officials, but I think it's really important, and I want to put that on the record. I want to state that I have no existing relationship with Allied. I have no financial relationship with them. They have never made a campaign contribution to me. I will not solicit one, and I will not accept one from Allied or their consultant. I have zero financial ties to this business. I think that's critical, and I think our public officials should be very forthcoming about such things because it tells us, right, what our motivations are, who our friends are, and really what we're prioritizing as elected officials. So I want to state that on the record. And I want to, again, thank everybody that's here today, people who are living check to check, trying to figure out how to get out of the rut. I know all about it, and I appreciate you being here and the families that you raise in Kern County and the contributions that you have made here, because I know how much you love Kern County. I want to thank staff for engaging in a thorough process that gave Allied a 30-plus point when the county family took a look at the quality and were honest about the services that they receive. The disparity in the points is so profound. This shouldn't even be a conversation here, but sadly it is. I want to state that in good faith and in complete love and devotion to Kern County and to our family, who are the subject matter experts and have devoted their lives to doing this and have come forth with a courageous act today on their behalf and in their honor, I will make a motion on staff's recommendation to award this contract to Allied. And I am hopeful that these are signs about Kern County's progress and its evolution. That's all, Chair.
Thank you for your comments. There is a motion on the floor. If there isn't a second, then that, well, Supervisor Peters, you punched in. Go right ahead.
Thank you, Chairman. So before we do anything today, I want to ask an important question for us, and that's what exactly are the options before the board today? So I understand that we can approve staff's recommendation, move forward. I'm not sure exactly what rejecting staff's recommendation would do. I'm not sure what continuing would do. I don't know the full range of options before us, so I was going to see if you could explain that.
Absolutely, Supervisor Peters, through the chair. The staff recommendation is to select Ally as the successful vendor on the RFP process and authorize my office to enter into contract negotiations. Your board could reject that recommendation. Your board also, as stated in the RFP, could use any relevant information to make your decision. That means in the RFP, it was very clear that this board and the county could select one or multiple companies. So your board could make the recommendation to staff to award the RFP to the top 3 candidates based solely on their initial scores of their proposal, and authorize me to go enter into a non-exclusive price agreement with each of the 3 top companies for which county departments then could select from based on their needs and their needs for the next fiscal year. Your board could also reject my recommendation and award to Transwest and authorize me to enter into contract negotiations with Transwest. One thing I want to clarify, because I presented to you that their price was not clear, and their attorney made their statement that their price is firm. So your board could authorize me to enter into contract negotiations, but I want to make clear that that clause currently existing on Amendment 12 for their current agreement would have to come out for their price to be firm. So that would be another option your board could have. Your board could take no action today and recommend that we bring back additional information that you may want to have to make your final decision. So you have a range of options today.
Okay, thank you. That's helpful. One of the things that was brought up today, or one of the accusations that was made, is that this RFP process was started because of some failure on the part of Transwest, and that is not accurate as I understand it. I'm not sure, though. I want to see if I can get some clarification on that.
Absolutely. Transwest was correct on the initial evaluation of the proposals. The top 3 candidates, there was a small difference. The proposals were advanced to an interview phase where each one of the candidates, the vendors, were asked the same questions by the evaluators, the same evaluators, same questions. They were given the opportunity to clarify through the questions their proposal and provide additional information. I think your evaluation committee on the score that I presented to you clearly outlined that Transwest did not do that during the interview process, okay? And after the proposal and the interview both combined were evaluated by the expert employees that deal with security on a daily basis, they made the recommendation to select Ally. Again, your board has the option to award to top 3 vendors, top 2 vendors, or 1 vendor. That is your option. I don't think there's a failure on past performance. Again, Transwest has been a good partner to Kern County, but we're not looking at we're not evaluating their past performance. We're evaluating a proposal for future performance, and we have to base it on the information, interviews that they provided. There is a component of past experience. I think the statement was made that one of the vendors was terminated by the county Cervexo. The county still has a contract with Cervexo. This is a non-exclusive price agreement. Departments have the option to change companies. They don't, when we have a price, let me give you an example. They brought a Stinson's box. We have a price agreement with Stinson's. I, as a department head, still have the ability to go to Office Max and buy supplies. I am not limited to Stinson. Same concept with security. If the current company is not meeting the needs of the department, they can go and hire other 2 companies that are on price agreement, or request a a quote under a different process from a third company. We are not limited. Department needs change a lot. Times have changed. You know, I've been working with the county doing this kind of work for 24 years. We can have security in our buildings. Times have changed, so now we do, and it needs change by the department. I think there was a statement that the evaluation committee did not review price. As your CFO, I can tell you I did. I think Transwest got, as part of their public records request, a spreadsheet that I developed just to get a range of what the price differential is. There is a higher cost, as you heard from Allied. Their rate is firm with a higher, cost on the proposal that Transwest provided. Again, if Transwest price is firm and that clause on their Amendment 12 goes away, they are the low price. I don't disagree with them, but it has to be clear that that additional clause that allows them to negotiate with the county additional increases will be going away.
Okay, thank you. I think that's all I have for right now, Chairman Cash. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I want to address a couple of comments that were made. And Supervisor, whether you meant it or not, this is the way I took it, that I would be making a decision based on some personal relationship or some type of campaign contribution or something like that. I want to assure everyone that is not the case.
Politicians would never.
I'm speaking now and I didn't speak while you were speaking. So if you want to continue to interrupt, why don't I just let you go ahead? I'm simply responding to what you said.
Yeah, I did. I think it was very clear what I said, and it was very clear what I meant.
That's why I'm responding.
Okay, very good. And the idea that
But
politicians.
My point was I didn't interrupt you when you were speaking.
You're correct. I'm sorry, and it won't happen again. Thank you, Chair.
As far as the campaign contributions go, and I know you stated, and you rightfully so, you haven't taken one, you're not going to take one. Neither have I. We now have a new law, so everyone knows in California, if you've taken a contribution within the last year or prospectively in the year from today, let's say, of $250 or more, you are not allowed to, one, vote on this if it had been in the past year, and you're not allowed to accept the contribution in the year going forward. Is that correct? Sorry? More than 250?
That's correct. More than 250.
I've taken zero, so I'm good. I do have a comment about the RFP itself, and I do want to, that has to be a difficult job, the committee, going through that level of detail. What I really want to make crystal clear, and I know I have said this in the past, but it continues to be an element in these RFPs that we put out. And I want to speak specifically to this transition plan element. I think it's entirely appropriate that we ask for a transition plan. We should ask for that. Everyone who's not currently providing that service should provide it. I just don't know, and I know in the past we've had a specific category of transition plan where it was given points. It was not done that way this time, but transition plan was still in 3 different segments. And I don't know, because it's not clear how much the weighting was on the transition plan in those 3 different segments. There were multiple questions in those 3 different segments. That was only one. So it could have been a very small amount. It could have been a much larger amount. It's entirely appropriate to ask for a transition plan, but I don't know that it should be involved in the weighting and the scoring of any of the RFPs. But it should be asked because you do want to know how that service is going to transition if you choose a new vendor. I don't know how we could clarify that and codify it so it doesn't happen in the future. Because I thought we had done that, but it's kind of still an issue for me.
I understand Chairman Couch. I think the RFP, and I think this is the confusion that most people have with RFPs. The RFP lists some potential categories of what the proposal would be evaluated. But it is up to the selection committee to go through those categories and outline what transition plan means. And honestly, we need to change the title perhaps, because it's not truly a transition plan, because as you stated, maybe the incumbent doesn't have a transition plan because they're providing the services. But they should be able to respond how they're going to continue providing quality services. Even though it's not transition, it does speak to the quality of the services that they'll
Okay.
continue to
That's
provide.
fair.
So we'll make a change.
That's fair. I want to talk about our park rangers for a second. In this contract, this is the way I understand it. Departments get to choose what level of service they want, what type of security guard or personnel that they want in their providing what service. We're putting some people through the academy to become park rangers, and I know we're using some of them at our different facilities. We have the flexibility of saying, we'd like a park ranger or two in this building or that building, and therefore a security guard that might be on that post one day in the future might not be, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. You started off your presentation this morning mentioning Jim Zervis. Jim Zervis, our former CAO, who was highly regarded and I thought a lot of, wanted to go out for an RFP. It was his decision to do so. He didn't ask the board to do it. He chose to do it. And what he told me, I assume he told others, was he wanted to, and I remember his very words were, test the market. That's fair. To me, testing the market is we got to know what it's going to cost. That's, you can talk about all the other types of service that you're going to receive or levels of service, but in the end, I think they're probably all going to be fairly close to the same type of service. So testing the market to me meant, and maybe he meant a lot more than this, but I think he meant I want to make sure we're getting the best deal that we can get. So you've done a calculation, which I don't think I've actually seen. Was it what Mr. Dodgen presented us with today?
It is not exactly the same because the level of service changes throughout departments. And I think he assumed, I think that's one of the comments he made, that we didn't know the scope or the hours. We have access to all their invoices. I downloaded tons of invoices to just double check what we've been charged. The calculation we did, and they have, Transwest has a copy of it, we evaluated the Department of Human Services and assumed the rate that I know the level that the department is using within all the levels,
Okay.
and compare them between the two companies. And they are correct. Ally is higher rate. I mean, they presented their point why. But also, again, if the price doesn't change, what's stated on the RFP for Transwest for minimum wage or any other factor, state law, they are the low cost. However, right now and in the past, they have in their contract a clause that require us county to cover any cost increases.
So-
In essence, the price is cost plus. That's how they quote it. We ask for a firm price for 2 years.
What I heard today, it was a firm price, is what I heard. You heard that? And your interpretation of firm price means whatever that clause is that allows for an increase in their costs in the event of a minimum wage increase needs to be removed.
That and any other state law, because there are other state law related to healthcare, employees working on a healthcare setting, yes.
Okay. So what is the cost differential, assuming there is no increase or state action or whatever that's considered?
Based on the Department of Human Services, which is one of our largest users of security services based on location and need, the price increase between the two at that rate is over $200,000 a year. So there is a cost. I mean, not disagreement in there.
And the term of the contract is 2 years with how many one-year extensions or?
So there is the RFP process, and I think I outlined it in the presentation. The RFP process should be evaluated. I mean, they recommended there's no firm date, is 5 years. We asked for a firm price for 2 years, so we can enter into a 2-year agreement with extension negotiating price, once a year up to 5 years.
When would you start negotiating the price for the third year?
well in advance before the second year ends, I can tell you that.
So, and if you, let's assume you entered into those negotiations and you give it, I don't know, 60, 90 days or something, and you just feel like you're not getting something that you can bring to the board for approval, you have options to do what? Terminate the contract at?
We will put those options in the negotiating contract. We would have the options to extend, potentially, if the vendor agrees, to extend at the current rate until, negotiations are successful. We can put a termination clause if that's what is more beneficial to the county, or we can go out to RFP again. I mean, there's that option.
Tell me about the termination clause. I mean, before we make some recommendations to you, what, are you saying that you would prefer a termination clause in a contract with anyone that allows for termination within how many days?
We look at termination clauses. Let me give you an example. I have contracts that finance that I'm required to put 50 days. As Supervisor Perez
many?
indicated, 50 days. That's
50?
That's a requirement from the state. As you know, nothing happens in 50 days in the county. I mean, that's just the reality. I am good at my job, but nothing happens in 50 days. So for a transition plan of a security services, it took us 4 months to get this done. So I would say no less than potentially 6-month termination clause, 90 days. I mean, council is staring at me, and I'm sure she has ideas. But we need to give ourselves time to renegotiate a new agreement and to have a termination clause that gives the vendor some knowledge that, we're not going to meet an agreement. So those are negotiated terms, but we need to give ourselves time to negotiate a new agreement in case, we're unable to agree to an extension on the price beyond the first 2 years, because nothing happens fast in the county.
Okay. My last comment is going to be about the local vendor clause or what have you. I have always assumed, to me, what would be important in the local vendor ordinance, or what I thought was envisioned was, and this probably needs to be cleaned up. To me, it's the ownership. I don't really care how many square feet there are in an office, but I think what was envisioned in the past, and this ordinance, I believe, was adopted long before I got here. I think what the intent back then was for the ownership to be local, which means a Stinson's, Ben's getting a lot of pre-advertising today, would get a preference over Office Max or Office Depot, simply because those are not owned locally. You might have some shareholders here locally, but the actual corporation is not owned per se locally. That's always the way I felt it was envisioned. It may not read that way, and the way it's written, just about anybody may have a local preference, which has always been a bit of an issue. Okay, last but not least, there was a motion by Supervisor Perez. There has not been a second yet, and our county council has probably advised everyone, I know they advised me, that this item doesn't move forward without 3 votes. Is that because, by the way, let me clarify that. That's because you have general law counties have to move forward with a contract with 3 of the 5 supervisors voting affirmatively. We only have 3 people here today, and 1 has already made a motion on your recommendation. If there's no second for that, and there's a motion to approve or to recommend or to instruct our CAO to negotiate with Transwest or Servexo, that requires 3 votes. Correct? Affirmative votes.
Correct, Chairman Couch. Government Code Section 25005, entitled Transaction of Business, states a majority of the members of the board constitute a quorum for the transaction of business. No act of the board shall be valid or binding unless a majority of all members concur therein. Little fuzzy, but there's case law and an attorney general opinion that says, in practical terms, there's 3 of you here today. You can conduct business and you can transact business, but in order for something that you vote on to be valid or binding, it would need to be unanimous.
So there's Supervisor Flores is absent today because he's ill. He was not ill yesterday, but I understand he is ill today, and that's why he's not here. So we have a motion, and we don't have a second. I just wanted to clarify that so everyone understood the position that we're currently in. Yes.
So do I withdraw it or it dies?
Without a second, it doesn't go anywhere.
Okay, got it.
Right. And then the same would be true if there was a motion the other way. It would just die for, if there's a vote and it's not unanimous, then that's an invalid vote. And then the next motion could be to continue the matter to a future date and see if there is a majority vote on that.
Well, I know just for everyone's information, you don't want it next week because, well, we're dark next week.
Right.
The 20th, Supervisor Peters is absent.
Right.
Pre-planned absence, but months in advance, so I'm not blaming you. 27th is our budget hearing, and you don't want it then, so we will go all the way to September 10th?
I believe September 10th is the next board meeting that hopefully there would be not only a quorum, but a
Four,
larger
perhaps five.
Yeah,
Okay.
4 or 5 people.
So Supervisor Peters, I think you punched in twice, and I'm just now recognizing you.
No
Sorry.
problem. So, man, these are the days where it's tough to sit up here and make these decisions. Allied seems to be a great company. From what I know of them, seem to be really invested in their employees. Transwest, from my experience with them, have always done a great job for the county and been very invested in our community. That being said, this is something that I think is fairly clear that we're not going to find consensus up here today on the board, and I think having the full weight of the current board members would be beneficial moving forward. So I would make a motion that we continue this until the September meeting that was mentioned by Chairman Couch. That way it would give Supervisor Flores a chance to weigh in as well, review what's been said here today, and give us a chance to dig in a little further to the substantial amount of information that we've been given on this, and just make if not a more informed decision, at least a more authoritative decision that has the full force of the board here. So my motion would be to continue this to September.
Can I ask a question about that for the public's information? What does Supervisor Flores have to do, since he's not here today, to assure the public that he just has to listen to a recording of the meeting or watch a recording of the meeting and then he can participate, or what needs to be done?
If the matter is continued, Supervisor Flores could watch today's hearing and then review all the documentation that has been provided to the rest of your board.
Okay, so there's a motion to continue to, would staff prefer the morning or the afternoon agenda? Does it matter?
It does not matter.
Okay. There's a motion. There's no second, so I'll second. Please cast your votes.
The motion is approved, 3 ayes, 1 absent, Supervisor Flores. So the item is continued to Tuesday, September 10th, 2024.
Okay. That takes us to the end of the morning agenda. Just need a motion to adjourn to closed session.
So moved.
Without objection, we're adjourned.